So that'll take care of these two.
And what is that?
Hey, slow down, Kimosabi. We're gonna get to that one in a second. Let's focus here and make sure that we get this building covered, this structure covered.
Welcome back to Grind with Gondal. Today, we're going to be talking about the basics. No matter what sales industry you're in, the most important step is identifying the problem, right? In roofing sales, that step is doing the inspection to identify the damage and how you can help the client. Today, I have someone very special with me that's been doing this for a very long time. Ty, how you doing, man?
Hey, good, man.
Good. How long have you been doing this?
About 13 years.
Okay, perfect. And what tips and tricks are you going to share with us today?
We're going to look at a lot. Obviously, we're going to look at inspecting the roof, but more importantly, how do we identify the areas around the perimeter that are most commonly missed, some of the collateral, as we call them in the industry, to make sure that we're capturing all the damage to the property to get the homeowner restored back to pre-loss condition.
All right, perfect, man. Let's get to it.
All right, let's go. Perfect. So we're going to do this inspection starting with the perimeter of the property first, and then we'll take a look at the roof. Usually when I take a look at a home, you're usually going to have two sides as far as, whether you can go into the right or the left side. I will usually pick the side where the gate opening is going to be. So in this case, the gate opening is on the left side. So because of that, I'm going to start my inspection actually on the right and work counterclockwise through that gate, so I don't make sure that I don't miss anything. If you have two gate openings, it's not a big deal. Just pick one, either go clockwise or counterclockwise, so you're not running back and forth. So I'm going to start here on the right side of the home and take a look at any damage that we have.
And what are you looking for?
I'm looking for a couple of things. First and foremost, I've got a fence here, and I can see that this fence has been painted. So if hail has hit this fence, I should see some little splatter of the residue of the hail. Stuff like this is just normal wear and tear, so don't confuse that with actual storm damage. But if you look at these smaller ones that are more circular in shape, that's evidence of small hail. So what I need to look for is, do I have any more of that? And I really am not seeing much, to be honest with you, on this side of the fence. But essentially what the insurance company would pay for, if there was, is they would pay for a power wash to lightly clean the wood. And then if it's stained, they'll pay for a new stain. If it's painted, they'll pay for a repaint.
Okay, and does it matter what the size of hail is?
It doesn't. The whole preface of any damage to a property is getting the property restored to what we call pre-loss condition. You'll hear me say that a couple of times, meaning what did it look like before the storm? So regardless of whether that thing is the size of a pea or the size of a quarter, damage is damage and it should be accounted for. Okay. So I don't see anything here, so I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to look up here at the rake to see if I find any, again, evidence of any paint or anything that's missing from damages to the hail. I don't see up here in anything up here in the wood area. And now I'm going to take a look at the window screens. In the window screens, there's a couple of things that you're going to want to look for. One, first and foremost, I have to ask myself, is this a regular screen or is it a solar screen? So solar screen pays a lot more. It's more expensive than a regular screen. I can tell it's a solar screen because of how dark it is. So it's designed to keep the UV rays away from the inside of the home. So if there is a tear or anything either on the screen directly alongside where the screen is put in, the insurance company will pay to have this thing rescreened. So that's one thing I'm looking for. The other thing that I'm looking for is around the actual frame. Can I feel, and I feel one right here, actually, we had marked it earlier, a little hail hit. You can see there. If you want, I'm going to grab a piece of chalk and we can mark that so you can see what that looks like. But here's a better example here. There's another hail hit here. So the insurance company would pay to have this redone with a new frame around it.
And what is your process of taking those photos and documenting that?
A couple of things. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some chalk. And I'm going to chalk this. Let me remove that one here. And I'm just going to rub my chalk horizontally. And you can see that little dimple right there. So that's where the hail hit. If you want to see it again, I got another one here on this side. I'll rub this one vertically. And there you go. So anywhere the chalk does not hit, it means that there's an indentation there that was caused by hail. So as far as documenting, with regard to photos, I want to do a close-up. I want to be maybe a few inches away from this when I do my close-up.
Like this?
Yep, exactly. And you may need to take it on an angle so that you can see where the indentation is actually happening. Once I do my close-up, I'm going to back away, and I'm going to do a far shot so that we can look back at these photos and know where this window is in relation to the overall home. So if I take a step back even further, I can see that this window is right here in relation to that front door. And sometimes I may point to it, take a photo with my camera with me seeing my pointer, right? My finger, pointing to that window to know exactly where it's located. So there is no question at the end of the day, when we're summarizing everything, we may have 10 different windows across this house, but if all you have is close-up of windows, we don't know where those windows are located. So you need a close-up and a far-away shot to give us an idea of where those items are located along the property. Okay? So I got one here. Looks like there's another one here on this window as well. So again, I would do a close-up and back away so I can see that both of these two windows have been hit. I'll continue my assessment here. And what I'm going to look at, in this case, I want to give you an example of this one here. So you have, looks like a little light that is right next to that drip edge. So in this case, it's okay. But if that light was slightly above or maybe on the drip edge itself, if the insurance company is paying for the drip edge to be removed, then they have to pay for that light to be removed as well. So 9 times out of 10, that's going to be missed by the adjuster that comes out here. So you definitely want to get a close-up to see how that may impact the drip edge being replaced. Like I said, in this case, it's okay. But definitely want to take a look at some of those smaller points. The other thing that I notice when I'm here is, if you notice, the drip edge is the same color as the paint. So that means that this was specially done. So they installed the drip edge and then they painted it. So you definitely want to make sure that you get a close-up showing these two colors match, so that not only can we ask for the drip edge to be replaced, but painting it as well. All right, I'm going to keep going here, look at the front of the house, see if I notice anything on the gutters or on the downspouts. I do notice one here, a little hit right there on that gutter. So that's definitely, you got another one right here as well. And next to this one, I also notice that there's a gutter screen or gutter guard. So I definitely want to make sure that I capture that as well, because when the gutters need to be removed, this would also have to be removed and replaced, the guard. Okay. These are seamless gutters. Well, actually they're not. They are seamed here, but typically the insurance company is going to pay for a seamless gutter. Very seldom are they going to go back and tell you to install these. Nobody installs these anymore. Your downspout, same thing. We've got a little hill hit on this downspout. So again, I would want a close-up of this, and then I would back away a little bit so I can see the brick and this to be able to identify where this sits on the property. Cool. All right, let's keep going around here and see what else we can find. We'll take a look at this when we get on top of the ladder, but sometimes you may have instances where the gutters and the downspouts are not damaged. So the question is, is the insurance company paying for the replacement, or are they at least paying for the detach and a reset of the gutters, particularly if they're drilled into the drip edge? Again, if you need to replace the drip edge and the gutter is going through there, well, you got to take the gutter off in order to replace the drip edge. So a good close-up of that from the ladder will help you to make sure that those get paid for. We got another downspout here that's been marked. This is a great one where I would shoot a long view so I can see the house number, so we can see again in relation to where it sits. And all you need is one hail hit, by the way. You've got multiple here on the downspout, but we only need one to get that whole run replaced. And if this is a seamless gutter, you'll only need one hit on the gutter to get the whole run replaced as well. Again, I'm going to keep looking up here to see if I find anything. House looks pretty clean on this side. Garage door. A couple of different ways you can look at this. You can use the flashlight technique. Sometimes I'll do that. I find that I have better luck, however, if I just feel my way through it, and any indentations that you feel that have been hit by hail again. Most of the times we're pretty successful in terms of getting the entire garage door replaced. One tip that I will tell you with regard to the garage door is there are basically 3 types of doors. You have this one here, you know, but on the inside it may look different. The inside may be just insulated, or the inside may have insulation and another sheet of metal behind that as well. So you're definitely going to need to either knock it, see if you can feel it. If not, ask the homeowner to open this up if you do have a dent in your garage, to make sure that we know what type of garage door it is when you're asking for that replacement. It's a big difference in cost between the non-insulated doors and the insulated doors. Sometimes it can be double the price. Okay? All right, we'll keep going. I didn't see anything on this door. Again, I'm looking, same thing, I got another camera here. Looks to be below the drip edge, so that would be okay. Here's my gate opening. I checked that right side. I'm gonna again check this left side to see if there's any damage to the paint. It looks pretty clean. All right, as I come through here, the first thing I notice is this cabinet. All these little spots is actually hail. It's hail splatter. And you need to ask yourself whether or not it created a dent, or is it just this kind of cosmetic thing that it did. One of 2 things would happen. More than likely with a cabinet like this, assuming the homeowner has metal coverage, if there's a dent in there, we're estimating to have the cabinet replaced. If there is not a dent and it's just cosmetic like this, we'd be asking for, again, a light cleaning. And in this case, it's painted, so to repaint it back to white.
Now, is there a way that you can chalk this to see if it's dented or not?
There is, and again, everybody does it a little bit different. My philosophy is I don't want to chalk all over the place, so I like to feel first, and then if I feel like if I think that I found something or I felt a little indentation, then I'm going to chalk that area. If you are going to chalk it, you know, this is homeowner's property. You know, if you want to chalk it, that's fine. I always have a rag with me if I don't find anything, just to kind of clean it up, get it back to where it was before. So I'm not leaving chalk all over the place. That's just my personal preference, you know. That's how I would want somebody to do my house instead of just leaving it with a bunch of chalk. So 2 options here, again, either replace or we're asking it for it to be cleaned based on the splatter. Okay, metal. You're gonna have a lot of different thicknesses of metal. And you wanna make sure that you have a little gauge or an instrument to be able to measure the thickness of what that metal looks like. So this will tell you, based on the thickness of the metal, what gauge it is. And it seems a little bit counterintuitive, but the higher the number, actually, the thinner the gauge, the lower the number, the thicker the gauge metal. You want to use your gauge to help identify the thickness of the metal. Maybe easier if we do it on this side. So I'm just going to use the teeth here to kind of figure out where it fits. It's a little tight. It's probably going to be right here. This is going to be a 14 gauge, okay? So the first question I have to ask myself is this dented? Is it metal? If so, what's the gauge? And then I'm going to have a slightly different one up here. I would use my ladder to get up there to try to measure that one as well, okay? 2 things that you want to look for when you're on metal. If you've got, you know, a nice little overhang like this, Most of the times you can actually see the dents coming in from the top side. If not, and you're able to get on top of the roof, I wouldn't recommend walking on top of the metal. You're probably going to dent it if you don't know how to walk on it. But if you can get close to the edge of the roof line where you can see that metal and chalk it, you'll be able to see the hail hits from that metal as well. So 2 places again, look up. If you got a flashlight, you can shine it up there. It may help you. Otherwise, you can look at it from the top side as well. This one looks pretty good. This metal, I will tell you, is fairly thick, so it may not have had any damage. Again, I'm looking around here. A couple of things I want to identify is I do see 2 dormer vents, or there's one on this side. More than likely, there's one on that side as well. This is designed to allow fresh air to come inside the attic. Why is that important? One of the things that we look for is based on building code, is the home properly ventilated? So you definitely want to take a picture of this. The other ventilation that we have on this house may be soffit vents, which this home does have. So you want to get a photo of that as well. We've been successful in getting some homes upgraded based on the lack of ventilation from building code. But this one seems to be okay. All right, so let me draw your attention to these 2 windows that we see on the left elevation. You obviously have some holes caused by hail. You got one here, some smaller ones here, and obviously the big ones that you can see. The other thing that you want to look at on these windows is like the beading, that rubber that kind of goes around it. Sometimes it's pulled a little bit from the wind. And if so, the insurance company would have that redone so it can be rescreened. So I see one left window here, screen that needs to be redone, one on the right as well.
And how many photos are you taking to identify this damage?
For each screen, at least 2. One is going to be a close-up again, and then one is going to be a far-away shot. Sometimes I'll cheat. If I got 2 screens next to each other, I'll do a close-up, and then on my far away shot, I'm pointing my 2 fingers at these 2 windows, so I know that both of these have to be rescreened. Okay? I'm going to keep going here. This looks okay. I want to talk about that antenna here in a second, but I want to draw your attention first to this air conditioner. So whether it's a window unit or whether it's a ground unit, you want to take a look at the fins to see if they've moved. Fins have been pushed by hail. This one in particular is a great example. Okay, so the insurance company is not going to pay to replace the air conditioner. It's still good, but cosmetically, it didn't look like this before. So we would ask them to pay for an air conditioner technician to come out here with a trip charge to brush or comb these back in place. They have like a metal brush or comb to put these back into place. It may seem trivial. You know, the trip charge alone is over $100, and then probably another $50 worth of labor. So all these small things do add up and definitely help with getting the claim to where it needs to be and getting the homeowner back to pre-loss condition. Okay. Again, we got another one here on the window screen. So it looks like this is we got 2 in the front, 2 so far, and this would be number 5. I got 2 more, so seven window screens so far. So the antenna that we were looking at before, I need to ask myself, you know, as a roofer, if I was doing this roof, would this thing stop me from the work that I'm doing? Do I need to move it, get it out of the way or whatnot in order to install the shingles correctly? Sometimes you will have these that are literally going across the roof line. They're low. If so, we would ask for a detach and a reset. In this example, it looks okay. It's pointing away from the home. It's not going to impact the installation of the drip edge nor the shingles, so it's okay. A couple of shots that I want to get while I'm here. I definitely want to get a shot of the right elevation as far as I can so I can see towards the front of the house. What that's going to help me do later on is it's going to help identify how many windows are, excuse me, are on the left side of the home. I said right earlier. How many windows are on the left side of the home? I'm going to do the same thing going back here as far as I can so I can get a shot of the back of the home so I can see again how many windows, what does the rear elevation look like, and then I will do the same thing on that right side as well. Okay, so your overview shots are extremely important to help us get a better gauge for what does this house look like overall. Okay.
And then do you know if this fence is his or his neighbor's? How can you identify that?
Very good question. Texas is a little strange, but in the state of Texas, typically the fences are shared. So even if this homeowner, let's say, decided to build this home, this fence himself, unless you can really prove that with a receipt, normally what the insurance company is going to do is going to evaluate the value, excuse me, of the fence and give you a 1/2. How do you know if it's yours versus your neighbor's? Usually, 9 times out of 10, if they built it right, the post when they're facing your backyard means that it's your fence. In this example here, you can see it's a different fence, but the posts are not facing us. So technically it should be that homeowner's fence. So if I was asking for a fence to be, stained or whatnot, I would assume that this is my homeowner's fence. Obviously that gate opening, the first gate opening that we saw. And then also, if you can stand here and look at that side, those posts are facing us as well. So I would assume that that is also his fence. And it also matches this fence that's behind us here as well. So I'm going to assume that both of these are his. The back one is not, and the front ones definitely are. Sometimes, yes, you'll have a post that's facing the opposite direction and it is your homeowner's fence, but that's usually the general rule of thumb. All right, so as we move on here, again, I'm going to keep looking. If this little line, cord or whatever was in my way, it was on the drip edge or on the roof, again, I want to take a photo of that. We'd ask for extra labor to kind of move some of those items. The door. Same thing. You want to feel this just like you feel a garage door. If there are any dents, we would ask for the door to be replaced because it was not dented before the storm. That's a pretty expensive door. So insurance company would pay to replace the door, reuse the same knobs and lock set, get a new fresh coat of paint for the new door to match the white that it was before. They don't come pre-painted. Okay, this one looks okay. As I continue along here, I see another window screen that has some damage on it.
Now, would you say this is hail?
Yeah, 50-50 on this one. More than likely it's not hail, right? Because you can see that there's a crease there. That crease is from it being folded. Usually that happens when people are trying to put the screen back in and they bend it. So if I'm wanting to get this bought, I want to look for a different marking. Maybe I'll get that one bought, but again, that looks like another crease. This one is definitely a crease. Hail would not do that. But hey, guess what? When you rub across, you find one sometimes. And there we go. I can feel these two right here are actual hail hits.
So even though it had other damage before, this would still count?
Yeah, so what you want to do is not take a photo of that, but take a photo of the one that you found. Okay? Not trying to be dishonest, but we don't want the adjuster to focus his or her attention on this when that's not what we're trying to point out. We're trying to point out this. So it doesn't matter whether or not it has both cosmetic damage as well as actual hail damage. We want to focus on the damage from the storm. Again, I'm just going to continue to follow my elevations. I do see a couple of things here. First and foremost, I see a rain diverter. It's pretty large, right? That one is put underneath of the shingles, so I definitely want to take a picture of it. So 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell you the insurance companies miss this because we're going to remove that thing and then put it back on. It's designed to stop the rainwater from coming in directly into the AC unit. Okay. So same thing on the other window unit as here. We would take a look at inside of these fins to see if they were damaged. If they have, then we would ask again for an HVAC technician to come. They would remove this cage, brush those fins back in place, and then put the cage back on. If the cage itself is dented, we'll ask for a new cage. So you want to inspect the cage just like any other metal components to see if you have any hail hits on here. These are pretty sturdy. Based on the evidence of the size of the hail that I'm kind of seeing around the perimeter, I wouldn't expect this one to be damaged, and it's okay.
What about this shed?
Yeah, we got a couple of them, man. We got 3. We're gonna get to the sheds in a second. I wanna make sure that I don't miss anything on the elevations on my photos. So my photos are in order. And then I'm gonna take a look at everything. Not only the shed, we even have a trampoline over here that has a pretty big net on it. So all that damage is gonna be looked at. Slow down, Gondal, you're too fast. So yes, I see another rain diverter. I'm gonna definitely make sure that I get that. I'll take a look at that window, work across here, and hey, look what I got here. I got a couple of these things, I don't know what they are, but they're inside of the drip edge. So, some occasions, you'll have the adjuster that actually doesn't pay to remove the drip edge. All right? But it needs to be removed. And if it is being removed, whatever is there, it needs to go back on. So we've got like a little wind chime or whatever it may be called. I want to make sure that I capture all of these things because those are extra labor items that are going to slow down the roofers, and we want to make sure that they're compensated for that time. I don't have anything as far as windows or anything on this elevation, but I do want to take a photo of the right side so I can make sure that I understand that. One more dormer over here, I want to capture that as well.
And then what would you recommend, since there's not enough space here to get the whole elevation, how would you want to document that?
I can do one of two things. I can either take it from as far back as I can walk in the backyard. Otherwise, I'm going to go to the front, maybe hang over by the neighbor's side and see if I can get a long shot that way, pointing my camera up. If none of those options are available to me, I'll just try to do the best that I can and maybe take multiple photos to try to get the entire elevation.
Got you. And then I noticed that you started with the perimeter rather than going on the roof first. What would you recommend?
That's usually my philosophy. And the reason why is because the perimeter should help me tell the story of what I should be seeing when I get on top of the roof. If I can see collateral damage around the perimeter, that starts to tee up the story of what the roof is going to look like. So usually I will definitely start with a perimeter walk around before I climb on top of the roof. All right, perfect. So we're done with the main house. Now I want to take a look at the other buildings that we have on this property. I know it's a pretty large shed. I got a metal one. We'll take a look at the other two structures in a second. But the
now,
shed.
Does the insurance company pay for these?
Yes, they should be covered under most policies. Occasionally, you'll have one like a metal, for example, where they may have a metal exclusion, so maybe that metal one won't. But typically, unless it's commercial, most homeowners' policies are gonna pay for these structures.
Ty, what about that chair that's sitting there?
Personal property, my friend. So barbecue grills, chairs, lawn furniture, whatever it may be, that is all considered personal property, and it's part of this claim. So we're gonna take a look at that as well. If there's a dent on that chair, we're gonna ask for a new chair. This here, I wanna evaluate it just like a house. I'm gonna take a look again at the perimeter. Is the paint damaged as I walk around? The roof is gonna be the same. We have a shingle roof on this one. So we're gonna inspect this roof to make sure that it's okay. And any damage we're gonna capture throughout that process. Same thing, I got windows, I got shutters, I'm gonna look at them the same way. So this siding is wood. I'm gonna treat it just like I talked about earlier with regard to the wood fence. I'm looking for any damage from hail, a chip, an indentation, any residue that I would see from hail. If so, we would ask for this to be, again, cleaned and repainted. This is painted. I don't see anything on the wood. I'm going to treat the windows and the shutters the same way. I don't see anything on this structure either. I'll work my way around here, see if I find anything on the other sides of this. Sometimes, guys, hail is directional. You know, it comes in one direction. You may see it on one elevation and not the rest. So as you do your kind of walk around, it may tell you typically it should tell you the direction in which the storm actually came. I don't see anything on this side. Back side of this looks pretty good as well. And so does this. So when we get the ladder out, we'll inspect this roof as well because it is shingled to make sure that it's not damaged. All right, great. So now let's take a look at the metal structure that we have here. This one is all metal, the exterior as well as the top. Again, I would want to use my metal gauge to get the thickness of this. But as I'm looking across here, the first thing that I notice are a couple of spots that I want to draw your attention to. You've got these, you know, horizontal kind of lines. You have two here. On this side, it's a little bit more prominent. That's not hail, guys, okay? So don't mark that up as hail. You don't want to kill your credibility. You can tell that either when this was being installed or for, you know, something happened to it to where that metal was bent. That's why it's creating that crease.
Okay, do they pay for the whole shed or just the shed roof? How does that work?
Both. So, and it may also depend on how this is constructed. Sometimes you have it where, like, you can't really replace the roof without taking off the panels. Yeah, so it really depends on the construction of it, whether or not these are actually two separate components, how it's fitted together. Do I have to remove this in order to get to the roof component? All those are things that you would need to identify. If I can draw your attention over here, though, on the top side of this, you can see that especially right here on the crease, that you've got some hail hits. Here's an even better one right here. We're going to chalk that one so you can see what that looks like. And when I chalk it, there you go. You got a nice little dimple, and that's that only one that you need to get this roof replaced.
So it would just be one for the entire shed or the entire roof of the shed?
Typically one for this elevation of the roof of the shed. If I can find one on that elevation, I get one on that side replaced as well, because these are two panels. You got one panel here and then another panel here, right? And then you've got your seam between the two. So I want to find one on the left, one on the right, in order for me to get these two replaced. So that'll take care of these two.
And what is that?
Hey, slow down, Kimosabi. We're going to get to that one in a second. Let's focus here and make sure that we get this building covered, this structure covered. I'm going to do the same thing, take a look at the perimeter here to see if I find any more damage so that I can get the perimeter exterior pieces replaced as well. And if you've got a good estimator that's working with you, you want to get these measurements, or if we can get them from the EcoView, that's great. We're going to do a comparison between replacement versus repair, right? Does it make sense to just replace the entire structure or replace the actual panels? Yeah, so we'll take care of that. So now let's focus on what you want to look at, this trampoline. So a couple of things with regard to trampolines. Obviously, they're going to show some wear and tear. Kids have used it. It's sitting here all day. It's being beamed by the sun. But with the trampoline, there are a couple of components. There's the actual structure, right? And then you have the netting, which is always added to this. So you want to look at the netting and treat it just like you would like a window screen. Do you see any holes, any damage to the netting? If so, we would ask for the netting to be replaced. And these aren't cheap. So you definitely want to make sure that you identify every single area of this thing and inspect it to make sure that the net is still in good condition. So let's do that. This one looks pretty good. Yeah, I don't see any tears, any holes on the net. I do on this part, on that side, but you can tell that's just normal wear and tear from the sun kind of beating this plastic up and just killing it over time. But the net itself looks pretty good. And the last one that we have is this shed over here. It is not wood. You can tell it's a hard plastic material. So more than likely, you're not gonna find any damage on something like this. Maybe it cracks if the hail was really severe, and if so, you would definitely be able to see that. But the roof is also plastic in this case. I don't think we're gonna find anything.
That is the SK Elite Roofing way of getting a property inspection done. Make sure to go over all the details. Don't miss anything and don't take shortcuts. No matter what industry you're in, the key is grabbing all the information so you can help your client the right way. Stay tuned for part 2, where we're gonna go over the roof inspection, go into detail on how you properly inspect the roof, the SK Elite Roofing way. I'll see you guys in the next one.